Everyone wants to grow. Both personal and business growth is seen as valuable. However, we don't always manage to realize growth. Without research and data analytics, there's no compass. And even worse, there are still many methods applied today that mislead marketers. We at DVJ Insights believe that things should be done differently. We started our journey by using scientific insights to design the best methods focused on growth. At the same time, continuously asking marketers and clients what they need from research to improve marketing. At DVJ Insights, we share an ever-growing passion for research and data analytics. By sharing content, organizing events, our academic board, and in our daily support, we help our clients grow, understanding what their brand stands for and making advertising better. The success of our clients is the success of DVJ Insights. The journey of constant improvement was started in 2015, making us an award-winning and fast-growing agency. Our people are active worldwide from offices in London, Hamburg and Utrecht. The choice to grow starts with the choice for the best research. DVJ Insights, the marketing and analytics agency for brand growth.
Good afternoon and welcome at our annual Brand Growth event broadcasted live from Amsterdam. Before I introduce the program, let me first introduce myself. My name is Lucas Hulsebos. I'm CEO of DVJ Insights and I will be your host of today. During the presentations, you have the opportunity to ask questions and vote for questions that have already been asked. In order to do that, you have to download the link for Pigeonhole that is in your chat function. So if you have a question, please write it down and I will make sure that the question will be asked to one of our presenters. Also, we have here in our studio Eva Gate from Bubbles in Beeld, and she will actually make a visual report of the program of today, which will be sent to you after this event. In order to understand what brand growth means, it's good to go back in time. 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago, Byron Sharp published his book, How Brands Grow. At that time, we were asked a lot by giving workshops and presentation what this book means for daily practice of marketing, but also what the influence of that academic work was for market research. By doing that, we also wanted to understand better what was going on in the academic world. For that reason, we founded and set up an advisory board with different professors from different universities, and we asked them also about brand growth. And what we've learned from having those conversations with lots of people working in the academic world, we found that there's so much more to share, so much more around growth and which ingredients to use and how to grow faster, better. And find all kinds of solutions for that. That's why we thought, let's go beyond the scope of how brands go and look for different topics in order to understand growth better. Also, what we found in the conversations that we have had with marketers, we found that there are lots of opinions, but that hardly they use the academic work from Byron Sharp. They have their own program based upon the learnings coming from practice. And for that reason, we thought it is important to set up a platform where we connect the dots between the academic world, but then much broader than what we have done so far, and also to listen better to practitioners by interviewing CMOs, marketing directors, and at some point even big quantitative studies across Europe to understand the ingredients for growth better. Today, we will have a program around the different ingredients for growth. But there are so many ingredients, and these ingredients can be separated in all kinds of different topics. That is why we've decided to select one topic each year and to focus on that specific topic. And that's why we talked about brand strategy, creative strategy, media strategy. We looked at innovation, and last year we've looked at data-driven decision-making. This year's theme is the moment of truth. And the moment of truth can be defined in many ways and in many different ways. And that's why we wanted to understand the perspectives of the academic world, the perspective from a retailer, the perspective from a brand, but also we want to share the findings of our own study today with you. And the reason why we chose Moment of Truth is because we believe that a lot of the things that we've talked about in the previous year come together at that specific moment. At that moment where we all decide to buy or purchase a certain product. Or maybe there's more. Maybe there are more moments of truth. We will find out today. The importance and relevance for this platform and for these findings are clear. It helps us create better solutions, it helps us understand marketers better, and it helps us to become more innovative and to find new opportunities for helping our clients to grow every day. The program of today is shown on your screen. We have different presenters. We have a short break after the first two presenters, and after the break we will continue the presentations. And we all try to finish within the next 2 hours. Our first speaker of the day is Arne De Keyser. Arne is a professor in marketing at EDHEC, and Arne is, EDHEC is one of the top 10 business schools in Europe. Arne has a very impressive track record if you look at his academic publication, but also at his awards that he received for being best presenter, best paper, best dissertation. I think in anything that you can think of, he has become one time the best. So I think it's a fantastic presentation, and he could not be here in the studio today. He's here live online, but he will present his view and his perspective on the moment of truth from a more academic point of view. Arne, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Lucas. It's my pleasure and honor to participate in this year's event. So, indeed, I'm Arne De Keyser. I'm a professor of marketing at EDHEC Business School, which is located in France. Now, I'm here to talk about the fundamentals of customer experience. And when we talk about the moment of truth, which is the core idea of today's event, concepts like customer experience and the customer journey, they're often mentioned. But what do they really mean? And in particular, I'll focus on the broadest concept here, and that's that of customer experience. Now, looking at practice and academia, we can hear a variety of terms and concepts that are somehow connected, but don't necessarily mean the same thing, and especially not the same thing to everyone. You hear people talking about journeys, about touch points, about interactions, about moments of truth, about the customer experience, and you hear people with various backgrounds talking about these concepts. People in marketing, people in operations, people in customer service departments, design thinking people. This morning I heard people in HR talking about it. And all of these people, inspired by their particular background, approach these concepts slightly differently or attach a different meaning to them. Now, I've also seen many people calling customer experience old wine in new bottles. And surely some companies also approach it this way and simply call their efforts to measure customer satisfaction, or NPS, as we are managing the customer experience. And while there's definitely value in measuring satisfaction and measuring NPS, customer experience and experience management move beyond this. I've also seen people say, well, what is not customer experience? It's such a broad concept that it becomes a theory of everything. And a theory of everything, well, that's a theory of nothing. It's essentially worthless. Now, all these factors in combination really led us to look at the experience concept and ask the question, well, what are we actually talking about? And how can we create a language that makes it easier for people to talk CX and understand each other? Now, we recently published this work in the Journal of Service Research, and we're now looking to further push this into practice and develop some follow-up tools linked to this to think about CX management and CX innovation. Now, central in our work are three building blocks that we believe are or capture the essence of CX. We have touch points, contexts, and qualities. Now, in our work, we say that customer experiences are formed through touch points, which are embedded in a broader context and marked by a set of qualities, right? This triad then kind of leads to a value judgment. That's customers thinking, am I better off after having interacted with a certain brand, yes or no? Now, let me deep dive into these three concepts, right? After I've done this, I'll discuss in what ways the TCQ approach can be used in practice. So we begin with touch points, and these are all the individual contacts or points of contact between a brand and a customer. The combination of these is then typically called the customer journey. Now, first of all, these touch points differ in nature. We have human, we have digital, and we have physical touch points. Think about a cashier, think about self-service displays, think about store interiors. Different in nature, all having an impact on customers. These touch points also differ in terms of control. Some touch points are brand controlled, either fully, think about ads, think about your own website, think about product packaging. Others are largely under the control of the brand, but they're kind of developed in collaboration with a partner. You can think of Google Ads, Amazon premium product pages, collaboration with influencers. Now, some touch points are not under the control of a brand, yet they may still be very impactful for the customer experience. Some of these touch points can be controlled by the customer. Think about people bringing in their own headphones onto an airplane, and these may mismatch the in-flight entertainment system and then negatively impact the flight experience. We also have social touch points, online reviews about your brand, word of mouth coming from family or friends. And then there's also something called external touch points, comparative ads, independent sellers of your brand, and so forth. And if you think about it, these non-brand controlled touch points are actually quite numerous, but we often tend to forget about them or not consider them because we have no direct impact on them as a brand. But I think it's important to understand what non-brand controlled touch points are typical in your customers' journeys and how you might still be able to have some positive influence on them. Think about brands successfully managing online reviews and responding to them. Research I'm currently working on really shows that this may change the narrative about your brand and positively impact customers, but also potential customers that observe this. Finally, these touch points, as I said, occur along a customer journey, which is typically split up in a pre-purchase, a purchase, and a post-purchase stage. And all these stages come with their peculiarities that you as a brand need to grasp. Customers have specific goals they want to achieve along this journey, ranging from getting price information to actually consuming or using a product. And you need to understand what is driving customers at various touch points along this journey. So in some touch points, you need to keep in mind their nature, who's in control, and where in the journey they occur. The second building block is that of context. Or in a more theoretical sense, it's like what condition is a customer in? What resources are available to them? You can think of context at 4 different levels: individual, social, market, and environmental. Let's start with individual. You could think, well, every customer is impacted by their individual context. It's like the way a customer ticks. Various factors come in here. There are emotional factors, like what mood is someone in. If a customer is in a bad mood, for instance, they will be much more receptive to bad signals in their interactions with you. There's cognitive factors, previous experiences with the brand, for instance. We have normative factors. Think about internalized cultural norms that drive an individual. There's physical factors. Think about a customer suffering from a physical impairment that may hinder that person from interacting with your brand. And we also have economic factors. One's available budget may impact if they can interact with your brand or not. Now, every customer is also embedded within a social context. Think about family, think about friends, other customers. All these may impact how we experience interactions with brands. And in interacting with these people around them, customers also take on different social roles, which again impact how they experience interactions with brands. If I'm shopping with my 3 kids, or I'm just shopping with my wife, I can tell you that has a big impact on how I experience that shopping trip, right? A brand may not necessarily have a huge impact on this. I mean, they can't control the amount of kids that I have or take with me, but a company like IKEA, for instance, I mean, they offer childcare services to positively impact parents' shopping. And if I look at myself, well, in many cases, that will lead to a more relaxed and a potentially higher spending store visit. Now, we also have a market context. As a customer, we're impacted in our interactions with brands by competitor actions, by substitutes, by future entrants. And think of Uber and Lyft and how they change the interactions we have with traditional taxi companies and how these taxi companies in turn really seek to reinvent and reposition themselves because of it. And finally, customers are embedded within an environmental context. This is a very big set of factors that may potentially impact one's experience with a brand. Think about natural factors. Research, for instance, shows that customers are more receptive to mobile ads when weather is sunny. There's also an impact of economic factors. Think how gasoline and food prices are impacting customers today. There's also an impact of public and political factors. Again, we can clearly see how today's international conflicts are impacting many brands and their customers. So context, 4 levels, a wide variety of factors come in. As a brand, you need to develop an understanding of which are most impactful, how you can get to know them, and how to use these insights, but more to come on this. Finally, the third building block is that of qualities. And these reflect the nature of a customer experience. Was it fun? Did I learn something? Was it special? Did it last long? And here we make a distinction between dimensionality and intensity. Dimensionality has several subdimensions. An experience can be cognitive, emotional, social, sensorial, or physical, or any combination of these. A cognitive experience is one where customers have to think, have to provide information. An emotional experience is, for instance, one that makes customers feel happy. Social experiences may occur when customers have to connect or when they feel connected with others. Sensorial experiences may be primed by brands. For instance, using a branded smell. Think how Singapore Airlines uses a signature scent that kind of brings back memories as soon as you enter an airplane of them. And finally, we have physical experiences which happen when customers are kind of enticed to move or to be active. In some Nike outlets, for instance, in-store tracks and courts are available to kind of test out the brand's products, and this really results in a physical experience. Now, we also have intensity, or you could almost call it the strength of an experience. Again, we have some subdimensions here. The first one is participation level. How active is an experience? Are customers co-creating an offering, or are they passive observers? We have the balance of an experience. Is it positive, negative, neutral? And we often think that an interaction always needs to be positive, but some interactions have an inherent negative character. And sometimes that's even good. I mean, think mouthwash. If you use this and the taste is amazing, I mean, who would believe that they actually are killing bacteria with that? I mean, you almost want the taste of mouthwash to be a bit off, as it's supposed to be this way to help clean your mouth. We also have the ordinariness of an experience. Is something common every day, or is it special or unique? Some brands go for one, some brands go for the other. And I do want to mention, not every interaction with a brand needs to be special. If I go to the supermarket, if I take a bus ride, I just want it to be smooth, and that's it. I mean, it doesn't need to overwhelm me. I don't need to come home and tell my wife, like, wow, this supermarket visit, it was amazing. I mean, it's not what I'm looking for necessarily. And finally, there's a time flow of an experience. Is it short? Is it long? What's the rhythm of that experience? In a supermarket, I want things to go fast. If I visit a spa, maybe I want it to keep lasting. What may have been clear already is that you need to think of these qualities on a continuum. In other words, you can try to play around with them as a brand. So you have to think of the qualities kind of as running a DJ board. You can try to create such an interaction, for instance, that the likelihood of strong cognition is high, or that an interaction is likely to be extraordinary for most consumers. So 3 building blocks: touch points, context, qualities, each with their sub-elements. Now, how do we move forward with TCQ? Now, first way forward is that of an audit. In other words, you check up what you currently do. And the idea is that you streamline the touchpoint overview, you assess what qualities you deliver, and what contextual factors are critical. And once you've done this, you can use that assessment to evaluate key working points and to benchmark with competition. Zion & Zion, which is a US marketing agency, recently developed an extended and updated journey map that incorporates and builds on the TCQ language. And you can see an example of this map on the slide here, and it kind of allows you to move beyond the typical insights of a journey map and detail customer experience much more in depth. It allows you to understand, well, where are key moments of truth, where are opportunities, where are pain points, what should we be working on, and how can we really build on the 3 building blocks of CX. And that's where the second application of TCQ comes in. A second way in which we use it is to think about touchpoint innovation and creating real moments of truth where your brand can make a difference. And here you design touchpoints in such a way that they kind of aim to deliver sought-after qualities. And doing so, you build on relevant contextual data. Now, let me clarify this with an example of Red Roof Inn, which is a US hotel chain with a lot of properties nearby some of the key airports in the US. Now, an important portion of Red Roof's customer are composed of stranded airline passengers. So how do you optimally interact with these potential customers that are looking for a place not to have to spend the night on an airport bench? So if passengers are stranded and an airline does not provide a good alternative, where do they go to? Their smartphone. And most people would go to Google and search for options to spend the night. So the first result that people see are the paid search engine results. So this is where you want to be as a brand. Now, how do I know when to make a bid to be high up on the search results? Well, being Red Roof Inn, I can connect with real-time flight information, which allows me to know when and where flights are canceled. What qualities are customers looking for? Well, they want concrete information. Think price, think location. They want reassurance to bring down an emotional peak of disappointment and stress, and they all want that fast. And this TCQ combination is what Red Roof Inn made sure to happen, and where they really realized a key moment of truth for their customers. And they combined smart bidding based on flight cancellation data and adapted search ads with text like "flight canceled, we've got you covered, we're only 3 miles away," really providing this assurance emotionally and concrete cognitive information very fast. And doing so, they really made a difference. Let's have a quick look at the video behind the campaign here.
922 flight cancellations today. That's on top of the 5,000 we had on Sunday and Monday.
A snowstorm beats a jet aircraft every time.
What do you do as a consumer?
Final way to use TCQ is at a more strategic level. And here, the qualities especially become central. As a brand, you can and you should wonder what type of qualities you want to be known for. What do you want to be, or who do you want to be for your customers? What is your identity, and how do I want to play around with my experience qualities? Let's look at some examples. IKEA, clearly their prime quality is to focus on high participation levels. Involving the customer so strongly has offered them a way of differentiation. Disney parks, they're all about extraordinariness, wowing guests throughout their visits at whatever point of the day. That's the magic of Disney. Amazon Go, that's all about fast and efficient, making time flow the prime quality put forth and determining what the brand and the store is for the customer. So as a brand, you need to know what kind of customer experience quality player you are. What are you offering? And are enough customers out there looking for this? So to conclude, TCQ offers a common language for practitioners to audit their current practices, to innovate and deliver key moments of truth that set the brand apart, and third, to think about higher level CX strategic decisions and to determine who you want to be as a brand and what CX qualities are central for you. With this, I hope to have introduced you to the TCQ framework and to have shown its application versatility. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or if you want to know more about the work, I'm happy to connect and see how this is relevant for your brand. Thanks a lot.
Well, thanks Arne for this really insightful and clear presentation. I really liked your TCQ approach and also the steps that you described. One of the questions I had with if you look at the audit and all the situation, the dimensions and sub-dimensions you described, there are a lot of possible combinations. How do you decide from the audit to which are the most relevant key moments of truth? Because you cannot select all of them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, TCQ, you could almost like see it as a game of cards that you can combine, and you can come up with combinations that can make a difference. Now, from the auditing exercise, I would say, well, focus first on understanding what are your current journeys and what are you delivering. Where are you doing very well? Where are particular pain points? And I think a very good start would be to focus on the pain points first and to see, well, how can we help overcome those? Because those are typically moments where your customers leave you and they talk negatively about you, which you may not always be aware of because a lot of word of mouth happens in a hidden fashion. But I think it's very important to kind of collect quant, but also qualitative data to really get good insights on, well, what kind of different journeys do my customers go through? I don't believe that there's the customer journey, but customers go through different journeys. That's a very complex journey map these days, let's say, but it's understanding, especially where am I not doing so well and how can I improve those points? I think that would be my first key starting point. Obviously, you can also look at where am I doing good and how could I improve further what I'm already doing well, because while competition is also not standing still and tastes and expectations of people change over time, so I also need to address and take that into account, which partly can come from gathering contextual data as well.
Thank you for your answer. Another thing, you described the possibility of a technical innovation to win on the key moment of truth. In the study that we've done, we also asked about the importance of innovation and creativity. How do you see that? What do you think is more important, technical innovation or creativity?
Oh, that's a very difficult question. I wouldn't say one is more important than the other. At the end of the day, it's obviously looking at the results of whatever you implement and seeing whether that works or not. And some things will work, other things won't work. Personally, I'm not necessarily a very big fan of implementing technology for the sake of implementing technology, which I think happens too often. It's like, wow, there's a fancy new technology, so now we need to use it. I think it's a lot more about the combination. It's using your technology wisely and doing that with a good portion of creativity that kind of lets you define who you are as a brand, but also stay consistent to kind of your brand identity overall. So I think it's much more about the combination of the two than one being more important than the other one.
Okay, thanks. And then also a question from Dennis via Pigeonhole. So please feel free, everyone, to ask questions as well. Do you think there's enough attention in the academic world for the moment of truth? And do you think that will increase?
I think in a lot of academic work, we tend to look a little bit broader at things on like, okay, how do we manage an overall customer journey? There is a bit of focus on moments of truth, of course, but I think, and then at least I speak for like the personal stream of research that I'm in, I don't necessarily believe that there's one moment of truth, but it's about understanding, well, what are key critical moments along a particular journey, and that may vary depending on customer or customer segment, again, driven by that context in which everyone is embedded. What is important to you might not be important to me, and the other way around. But I think what I see, and that there's a lot more attention for how do we manage experience, how can we aid companies, what kind of systems are needed to manage an overall journey and to avoid failures along the way there, and to kind of create some peaks, which could then be moment of truth, that really increase loyalty and engagement of customers.
Well, thanks a lot. And thanks again for your presentation. Not only the content that you share with us, but also the way you explained it. For me, it was a very clear and great story to listen.